I think I've always liked feeling strong. My work is very sedentary. When you are working in theater, you sit. And you sit literally 8-10 hours a day. You get up, you take a break when there's an equity break. Otherwise, you're sitting. So outside of that, I liked being active and I liked being strong. And I also noticed over time, the stronger I was, the healthier I was.
Inform Nation, welcome to the Inform Fitness Podcast with Adam Zickerman and friends. I'm Tim Edwards with the Inbound Podcasting Network, and this is episode 40 of the Inform Fitness Podcast. Am I the only one clapping that we made it to 40?
Yes, you're the only one clapping. We're excited, though. I have coffee
excited.
in my hands. I'm sorry.
Clapping.
I'm holding coffee. I can't clap. I'm not being rude.
One hand clapping.
I am really excited about this, and no better person than to have Annie Wrightson with us on our 40th time. Mm-hmm. She's a long-term client with a tremendous success story. We know her a long time. I forget how long, but she'll tell you. And how long?
15
there
years.
She is.
Yeah, 15 years,
Right.
2002.
Yeah, she's been here for 15 years, has an incredible story, and that's why I wanted her to be a guest on the podcast. She's a theatrical lighting designer, and she works all across the country and even in Europe and Australia occasionally. And but she is most known for she did the lights for August Osage County on Broadway.
For Tony-nominated work on August Osage
She was nominated
County.
for a Tony Award for lighting design and got us fourth row tickets.
Yes, she did.
It was a phenomenal play. But anyway,
It felt so cool. Yeah, I know somebody cool.
Yeah, exactly. We know the lighting designer. We know the lighting designer. We were like,
That's a true artist, actually.
That's so cool.
It was a
She is.
fantastic, and she's
She is.
so talented. And I've seen lots of her. She showed me a lot of the photographs of some of her work over the years too. And so
Annie,
it's a pleasure to have her here.
Annie, would you share with us some of the other productions that you've had a hand in?
Let me think. Recently, I did a show at Steppenwolf called Here. I'm about to go to Steppenwolf in Chicago and do another show called The Rembrandt. Most of my work is outside of New York and around the country. I work in Portland, Cleveland, Atlanta, Hartford, everywhere. It's not always easy to have a steady kind of diet of New York theater. So you work everywhere.
Have you ever worked in L.A., Annie?
I have. I actually did another Broadway show called Souvenir, which went to the Playhouse in Brentwood.
Oh, okay.
In 2006, I think it might have been. Mm-hmm. But LA doesn't have a huge theater community. So it's
Oddly enough.
yeah.
I'm
So it's
surprised
a
it
little
actually
It's all
harder.
about Hollywood
That's
over
more
here.
New York and Chicago.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yep, it is.
Well, Annie, what made you walk in our door back in 2002?
I was training. I've been training myself and with at-home trainers for a long time. When I was 32, I think I took up weightlifting, free weightlifting on my own. And then I graduated to having a trainer come to the house. So this was a person who came to the house, Lori Jackson. And she then started coming here to train here and become a teacher. And she thought this protocol was suited for me. I have scoliosis, so I have issues of being able to get like both hands down on the floor behind me. And she was concerned over time that I was losing a lot of flexibility and mobility. So she thought this would help that. And over the course of 15 years, that certainly has.
This method, the slow weight training.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just for strength. And I think for, especially for strength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also want to just let everyone know, Annie is 67, and she looks a lot younger than 67.
Never
all right?
Yes.
guess that.
I mean,
Awesome.
she is a force to be reckoned with, and
That's
and,
amazing.
incredible performance when she's working out. So what do you think has made you stay here for so long? Like what about the workout have you been able to stick with?
I think I've always liked feeling strong. My work is very sedentary. When you are working in theater, you sit, and you sit literally 8-10 hours a day. You get up, you take a break when there's an equity break. Otherwise, you're sitting. So outside of that, I liked being active and I liked being strong. And I also noticed over time, the stronger I was, the healthier I was. Because sometimes, especially in during technical rehearsals, when you're working really long hours and you're in a cold theater and you're putting stuff up, I know so many designers, especially lighting designers, who get sick every single time they do a tech rehearsal. And I don't. I really don't. So I worked kind of hard over time to not get sick while I work.
Like monitoring your health and being strong is you think that is the reason why.
Is part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. How do you think being strong has helped you in your personal life and professional life beyond what you just said?
Well, I also I have a family history of arthritis. I had a hip replacement 8 years ago. So part of it was also just staying strong on both sides of my body so that I don't impact the other good hip I have, the only other good hip I have. And so far, I do have arthritis in it, but I have no pain at all. So I think in 2009, I got a hip replacement, and then I started to do Pilates. My right hip had not been replaced yet, and I was very hobbled on the right side. But I started Pilates. The doctor, the orthopedist, said, stay strong. So I thought, well, I need to stay strong in a way that's kind of controlled and focused. So besides still lifting, doing strength training here, I added Pilates. And I've done Pilates since. So I do a mix of walking, jogging, a couple days a week, Pilates a couple days a week, and strength training once a week or sometimes twice a week.
That sounds like exactly what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I love Pilates. I just added it myself. I love it. It's a great It's a great in conjunction with the strength training. It's perfect.
It really is.
How about when you're on the road? How do you factor this workout into your schedule while you're touring or traveling?
On the road, I do not do strength training. Sometimes I will find a Pilates studio, but my time's really short. And I am an early morning person, so I tend to get up at 5:30, and I will walk. And I will generally walk. Outside is where is my favorite. So I will walk in almost any city, and most cities have either nice greenways or bicycle paths or canal paths that I can find to walk outside. In the wintertime, harder and harder to do. So I try to find a gym. It's my least favorite thing to do, but at least I can do it on a treadmill. So I keep that up for the 2 weeks I'm on the road.
I heard you calculate how many of these strength training workouts you do in a year here. How many were they again?
Well, I was looking before. We've been monitoring with our system it goes back to about 2005, and she's done 330 sessions between 2005 and 2017. And
that averages to
just under 28 per year. So, and that kind of makes sense.
28 a year.
Just a little bit more than half the year.
Yeah.
And so.
Do you feel you've gotten weaker in the last since you've been coming here?
Weaker?
Yeah.
No.
All right, so think about that. She's been only working out 26 times a year, strength training, and she does not feel weaker. So I guess it's working enough.
Well, what's interesting is
mixing in the other things she's doing.
We were talking before, really, Annie is 67, looks phenomenal, and is very, very strong. I mean, I would put her in the top, 1% of anybody who is in her age range, over 60. I'm just going to go down to 60 and above, and even way below that. But what's interesting is when we were talking about that before, Annie, you were comparing yourself to your 35-year-old self.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
I actually think I'm stronger than I was when I was 35.
Now that is the testimonial right there, I
actually do. But I also think because of Pilates, it's just that I feel stronger from head to toe. Instead of just because when I was 32, I started free weights, and I did free weights. I got a book. I figured out a routine. I did abs. I did arms. I did legs. But I think over time, because this is a much more kind of complete workout, strength training, and Pilates also adds to that. So I just feel like the strength of my body is much more cohesive and much more complete than it felt at 35.
In regards to when you were doing free weights, did you feel, with the way you were doing them, did you feel it was unsafe the way you did it, or you felt like it was okay?
Good question.
And then comparing it to the setting you're in right now. It
probably was, I would say it probably was unsafe. I mean, I had a weight bench. I monitored myself. I did my own routines. I probably did them too fast, but I did them, and I did them religiously, and I liked them a lot. But I would say they probably were unsafe. I never hurt myself doing them, but I think I was lucky.
And it seems like you never felt like you were putting yourself in harm's way.
Yeah. Not certainly consciously, consciously.
Chances are how intense was the workout? How hard were you pushing yourself?
Well, that's a good question. I would do like 3 sets of, 10 reps. I would do the one that I thought probably was the one I could have hurt myself on was Roman chairs. I would put a weight on my chest, hook my feet under my couch, and I would like go all the way back and up on a bench. And I would do that.
The old back extension.
Yeah. And I would do, I love those, but I so don't think that was safe.
Yeah, in any way. Well, there's a lot of people who do a lot of things that they actually really enjoy until it hurts you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What's really remarkable though, over the last few years, are some of the changes you've had with your weight. And the focus that we've really put into that is obviously you've gotten stronger and you've felt stronger over the years. And then, so what happened a few years ago? What were you thinking about, and why did you?
Well, I noticed when I was around 63, 64 that it was harder and harder to take off holiday weight from Thanksgiving, Christmas. I would usually put on 5 pounds, usually 5 to 7 pounds. And previously I could take it off pretty well, but it's still, weight loss for me is always slow and kind of methodical, like 1 pound a week, sometimes a little less than that. But I noticed around 63, 64, I couldn't get it off at all. It was taking me months to take off 2 pounds. And so again, my friend Lori had found a nutritionist that she liked a lot, and I had encountered other nutritionists that I was never very impressed with, but Lori really liked this person. So I signed on with Lisa Jubilee, and I changed entirely what I ate. Went to organic, because I have arthritis and my hands, and I treat it with a lot of remedies and a lot of not medication, but remedies. I went gluten-free, I went dairy-free, and ate mostly a high-fat, high-protein, low-carb diet. And I did it I still do it. But over the course of a year, I lost 15 pounds. So I went from about 145 down to 130, 131.
With the same exercise regimen.
With the same exercise regimen.
Pilates once or twice a week, and walking, like a little intermittent jog type of thing.
Yep. I plateaued at around 135 and had a really, really hard time getting below that. So Lisa suggested I do Inform Fitness twice a week, because that kind of training kind of ramps up your metabolism and the ability to burn fat more efficiently.
I think for you, finding out that dosage, we advocate it once a week or twice a week, and it depends on the person and their health and how intense the intensity they can tolerate, and a lot of different variables. But and it's, people ask us all the time, should I come once a week or should I come twice a week? And sometimes we don't really know. Some people, they get the results you're talking about doing it once a week. And, what's interesting, one of the things I want to just make sure gets mentioned is, what I admire about Annie is she is so focused and she's very patient with what I refer to as the troubleshooting process, figuring out like what is the way to your results, because it actually isn't the exact same frequency or the same exact nutrient intake per person. And
not only that, but it changes for you. It changes you for yourself as time goes
correct.
on.
And it changes at
Possibly,
different times
anyway.
in your life. Exactly. And what I think a lot of people, they throw their arms up in the air. They may get results for a week or 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, wait a second, it plateaus, or then it stops, and then they throw their arms up in the air and give up on the process, of which may involve a lot of different things. We talked about Adam's over the last few podcasts as well, which he's made tremendous gains, but it's a process.
But it is a process.
And that's the thing. I just wanted to I think it's amazing how we've figured out like a 2 times was actually appropriate for you. And
it's a really excellent point. I mean, I can't tell you that is the secret to success. And the word is patience. And one word is patience. And being willing to try something and stick it out, because you don't know if something works if you just do it for a week. I mean, this is something that takes time. And realism. Patience and realism are the two things. I mean, understanding what a pound is, and that just because you lost a pound in 2 weeks and you're frustrated by that. So you lost a pound every 2 weeks for a year. All right. You're talking, you lost 25 pounds. That's major. That's major. Consistently. And the thing is, it might take some time to find what works for you. And again, patience.
And what you said before, Adam, it changes in the different phases of your life. What worked for you when you were in your 30s or 40s,
exactly.
All of a sudden you're like, it doesn't work anymore. And I've been
going to be observant enough and patient again enough to and willing to make certain changes and try certain changes. And it's a testament to you, Annie, because we can give you all the information, all the guidance in the world, but for you to have the patience and to actually do it is we don't see it very often. We don't see it enough. We don't see it enough.
And it really worked. It was the silver bullet for me that literally got me past 135 and down to like 130. It took a while, but as they've said, I'm willing to be patient about it. And I also noticed doing this twice a week, strength ramped up that I noticed. I could notice. I just noticed, because I do other exercises at home, and I just noticed the ability to do them definitely changed.
And how many days in between your 2 routines do you have?
Oh, we usually would do Monday, Thursdays. Tuesday, Friday. And I changed up my Pilates routine so that I wasn't back to back, because I have a hard time if I'm back to back exercising. Coming here gets pretty hard to do.
Another thing that is breaking through that plateau for you is interesting, and intermittent fasting was an element too, wasn't it?
I still basically do intermittent fasting. So I eat 8 hours out of 24. So I basically do not eat breakfast. I get up early. So I'm a 5 a.m. riser, so I eat lunch at 11 or 11:30 because I'm hungry by then. But I'll have almonds maybe if I need to kind of have something at like 8:30 or 9, and then I'll eat lunch at 11 and dinner at around 7. And basically that's about it.
Is that 7 days a week or like 5 days a week?
Oh, probably 6 to 7 days a week. Sometimes on the weekend I'm a little looser and I eat breakfast because my husband's home and we're a little less intense about getting up and out of the house. So I'll eat breakfast Otherwise, I don't eat breakfast.
How about socially? How do you work in eating like that on a social basis? Do you find it difficult? Are you being judged, or you just don't socialize?
I do. Well, I do socialize. I do. I mean, there are days where I just went out this past weekend and we went to this place called the Meatball Shop and I ate meatballs. And I had
meatball shop. Annie's a New Yorker. You better believe she socializes.
and I had an ice cream sandwich, which is 2 huge cookies and a huge scoop of ice cream. And I thought, I can do this. Yeah. It's not something I do very often, but I definitely I love food, so it's nice to have a good time with it. I do find when I'm on the road working, I'm really strict about eating then. And I make my own food. I take my own lunch. And I'm really, I don't socialize so much when I'm on the road. Because then you sit for 8 hours. You then, if you've got a bag of pretzels there, that's what you eat. And I don't. I take, carrot chips, or I take something. I take nuts, and I take my lunch and put it in the fridge, and so I'm really careful about that.
Was it difficult initially to make those transitions, like getting rid of all those like inflammatory foods and stuff when Lisa sort of guided you?
No, I literally switched gears like overnight over the course of a weekend. I literally just looked at what I needed to shop. I shopped it. I rearranged it. I do keep a food diary on My Fitness Pal, and I still love
it. This is like a Gretchen Rubin dream, right? Like what does that make her like? According to her distinctions,
an upholder. She's an upholder.
Oh my God, she was told what she had to do, and she just did it.
So
right?
I just did
or
it.
an obliger. Yeah.
And it doesn't. And I find now that I've done it for so long, if I like blow it out and eat a lot of carbs like a few days in a row, I can't do it. I don't. It's not comfortable. I can't comfortably do that very often.
Well, it's nice. I mean, you're in a pattern where you know what serves your body. It makes you feel good. And you know that having some indulgences from time to time, whether it's meatball shop and ice cream sandwich,
a treat.
It's like, you have the treat and you get right back on the saddle.
Have a treat and then I get back in the saddle.
That's reasonable.
Your body hardly notices it.
Yeah, your body hardly it may notice it, but then you want to quickly get back on the track that you're on. And I think that's the license I think you have to earn. If you want those meatball shops and those ice cream sandwiches and those loose social engagements, you have to have a tremendous amount of discipline, which you've established for yourself. And it's, like going back to Gretchen Rubin, that was another thing, troubleshooting your own personality and how to actually get into
what works
this.
For you.
But the thing is, one of the things I wanted to mention about, people don't see Annie on the podcast, but Annie, and this is a female thing. What I've found watching women over 50 is having a lot of difficulty losing the weight in that midsection area. And Annie has done it. Like, she has really, really significantly done what is a lot of people find to be impossible. And I think setting that goal and working towards it is, I think it's just worthy of just mentioning that it's attainable if you're ready to pursue the troubleshooting
let's say it's possible, because I don't know if it's attainable for everybody.
It may not be. But
it's definitly possible. If it doesn't happen, if that particular thing, losing your little pouch, as I hear it referred to a lot, if for some reason, because you've had 5 kids and you can't lose that pouch, all is not lost. You're still eating a healthy lifestyle and you're healthy. The thing that Annie said at the beginning of the broadcast, if you want to call it that, is this. I realized that being stronger was being healthier. Mm-hmm. And that's a realization. That's a profound realization that her strength is what made her healthy. We often try to get fit, and many times the exercise programs we choose to get fit actually do the opposite. They undermine our health. And the fact that she said that being strong, avoiding sarcopenia, which is one of our early episodes we've done on this podcast, and all the problems that come from
arthritis,
muscle loss and things like that, it's a profound statement for somebody in her position that hasn't been trained and schooled in sarcopenia and all that kind of stuff. Just to say that she realized that her strength was her health, especially, and then doing it in a safe way, so getting strong doesn't undermine your health. And I think that's an important point to make and to kind of close with. Although I do want to bring up one other thing that Mike brought up, which is not really about Annie and her success, but it's something that comes up, and the word was used, and that is plateau. I just want to say something about plateaus for a second. It's only going to take me a minute. That is, I think plateaus, in some instances, in many instances, get a bad name. as if it's a bad thing that I plateaued.
And we were
just talking about this.
We were just talking about this?
Positively.
We were literally just talking
before
about
the
it.
podcast.
That's so funny. So tell me what I say is actually what you were talking about. This is funny. So it's kind of just an observation I make. I mean, the thing about plateau is if you come here, how long has it been, Annie?
15 years.
All right, you're coming here 15 years. If you are realistically or getting stronger every single time you came in here, you'd be like Arnold Schwarzenegger by now, right? So there is a limitation to how strong you can get,
right.
and the real thing about plateaus,
you'd be Captain America.
And the analogy
Wonder
I make
Woman.
is when you're like a starving artist, right? And you can have trouble paying the rent. Every penny that you make counts. But when you're like a millionaire and a gazillionaire and you don't ever have to worry about making money ever again, and you make some more money on top of that, it's almost like, who the hell cares? Right. And the thing is this, when you're as strong as Annie has gotten, let's say...
has maintained.
Well, that's the point I'm making about plateau is, I mean, let's say you're 200, 300, 400% stronger than you were. Like you said, you're stronger now than you were in your 30s, okay? And you've been maintaining that into your 60s now. All right? And you've been plateauing at this high level of strength for all this time. I'm thinking that's huge. That's great. Plateau is not bad. The fact that and this is the other thing about plateaus also, though. Doesn't mean you stop trying to get stronger. That's the beauty of this. You keep trying. You keep trying to get stronger. You keep looking at your results. You still exert patience, and you still tweak, and it's really cool to really see if you can get it higher. Why not? You're here. And it just reminds me, and I don't want to set limitations either, even though we know there are theoretical limitations that we all have. Who wants to set those limitations? Because it reminds me of when the 4-minute mile was broken, right? What's the guy's name? Bannister? Was that the guy who broke the 4-minute mile?
The first one, yeah.
All right, so like before he broke it, the first guy to break it, no one thought it could be done. As soon as Bannister broke it, all of a sudden, all these people started breaking it soon after because the belief was there that it can be done. So I don't want to ever set limitations that you can't get so strong. You're at your plateau. And I don't really want to talk about plateaus too much because that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy that, but at the same time, it's not a bad word, especially if you're like 300% stronger than you were in your 30s.
Well, I think it's coupled with the expectation of where you would be if you did not do any strength training when you're 67 years old.
Right.
Like where would she be?
Where would I be? Yeah, we were talking about that.
Like if you draw a line, like say Annie Wrightson lifts 100 pounds when she's 30 years old at whatever exercise. And at 40, she lifts 100. And at 50, she lifts 100. And at 60, she lifts 100. And at 70, she lifts 100. The thing is, if she wasn't doing that strength training,
good plateau.
She'd be declining.
Yeah, you're not losing strength.
What really is the increase is the delta between where the decline would be and where the plateau is. I don't know if people can understand that through a podcast, but
deltas change.
Yeah, okay, but that's that percentage which is below the plateau line, between the plateau line and where you probably may have been lifting, or if you didn't do any strength training, or what you possibly could have done if you were in strength training. That's the big thing that we have to recognize. It's alarming because
that's why that siren is.
Yes.
Well, exactly. Also on the whole topic of plateauing, you can talk about that as far as, just getting older and people saying, oh, forget it. I'm never going to, lose that belly fat. I'm never going to look as good as I'm never going to feel good again. And I'm kind of on that. My own journey started with that, in the last month, and I hired a nutritionist. And so, Annie, you are an inspiration to me because it's like, no, I'm going to look the best I can at my age. I'm going to do this. I don't have to settle for, look, well, I'm just going to have to deal with this. I'm going to just slowly gain more weight and, slowly have to buy more clothes. And, anyway, I just wanted to say I'm very happy to meet you. And I think that you're an inspiration to women, especially. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bravo. It's true.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you very much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Certainly.
Much appreciation to 15-year Informed Fitness client and Tony Award nominee Ann Wrightson for sharing her health journey with us here on the Informed Fitness Podcast. As Sheila mentioned, she is truly an inspiration and a living testimony for this slow-motion, high-intensity strength training protocol offered at 7 Informed Fitness locations across the U.S. To find one near you, click on over to informfitness.com. The website is chock full of entertaining and educational blog posts written by Adam. You can also see what Adam, Mike, and Sheila actually look like in their trainer bios and the videos. And we invite you to head on over to Amazon to pick up Adam's book, Power of 10, the once-a-week slow-motion fitness revolution. The book itself is only about $13, and you can download the Kindle version for less than $8. Inside the book, you'll find nutritional tips and exercises that can be performed anywhere, even if you are not near an Informed Fitness location. All right, so next week, Mike Rogers will be sharing a very personal story about resiliency. We'll discuss how this type of workout can not only keep you healthy into your golden years, but could possibly even save your life. Make sure you're with us for that one. Until then, for Adam, Mike, and Sheila with Informed Fitness, I'm Tim Edwards with the Inbound Podcasting Network.